with it, in the hood with it. Welcome back to the Collective Clips, where you already know we get it in. But before we get it in, let's hit that like and subscribe button. Ding! Put your notification bell on all so that way you're directing the direction of the dope content I'm kicking. And I highly appreciate all the support, man. We're going up on this channel, and it's all because of you. And for that, I can say I'm very humbled, and I'm very much so appreciative. Thank you. I couldn't do without you, and I know that. You know it, because I know it. Trip out, right? You know, I wanted to tell a story. Wow. This one was a little bit different, right? But in order to tell the story the right way, I got to take you back to my perception of things, right? Now, when I was in CYA, you know, the Crips were probably the deepest black gang or black movement, black group in the Youth Authority, right? There was a gang of Crips, man. And the Crips back then were vicious. Now, I know they still move a certain way, but I'm just saying back then is when gangbanging was like off the chain, off the hook, right? Everybody was doing their thing. And there's no doubt about it. The Crips were an adversary for anyone who tried to go up against them. Okay, now the Bloods, on the other hand, were violent and vicious as well, but there wasn't very many of them. And I always identified with the Bloods like, man, their numbers are small. I mean, we were on compas where there was 30, 40 Crips, 3 or 4 Bloods. Maybe the most Bloods I ever seen on a compa was maybe 6 or 7 of them. They just always, their numbers were very, very short, but they were with the business, man. They would get to them buildings. They would go at it with whoever, whenever, however, right? So I always had a lot of respect for the Sangres, the Bloods. I know that they didn't really care for the Norteños when we were in the Youth Authority, and I'm explaining to you exactly why. You know, about 91, we formed an alliance with the Crips called the C14ers. Not all Crips, but a lot of the NCs, Northern California Crips, and some Southern California Crips decided to take into the alliance, and it was basically called Crip 14ers, CXIV, right? There was a lot of love there, a lot of respect. You know, these Crips, we ate with them. They functioned just like Norteños, man. They were with the business. They were willing to say, you know, because we had a common enemy, which were the Southerners, the Southsiders at that time. And these were guys that like had like super animosity towards the Southsiders. They hated them for whatever reason, whether it was they killed their homeboys on the streets or they just didn't care for them. They were willing to go all out the box on some shit, right? Kick riots off, handle business. And it felt good as a Norteño because our numbers were short, having them allies. So it wasn't necessarily all the Crips. People get it twisted at thinking that the Crips and the Norteños were together. No, it was just those very few, a handful that decided that they were going to join up and form this clica, right? Now, at the end of the day, when I paroled, other things started to form. And one of the things that started to form was, I think it was the Bulldogs, the Bloods, and the Paisas. They all got together, man, and started to move as one and handle their business, you know, against Norteños and Southsiders. And then I even heard that the Southerners joined up with the Bloods and the Paisas, man, and the Bulldogs, and were going against Northerners. Because I remember at the time that I paroled from YA, the Bloods, I mean, the Bulldogs were functioning not with the Southerners, but they programmed with them. You know, at the time, there was a red light on the dogs, meaning that the Southerners and the Bulldogs weren't tripping off each other back then. It was all mixed up. You know, the Youth Authority was crazy. You never know who was your enemy that fucking next day when you woke up. You just had to get off where you were mad at and just hope that you lived for the next one, right? It was chaos. It was gladiator school for sure, right? You had to fight to live and live to fight. That's fact. So I always kept that with me, that the Bloods were with the business and they were down, man. But I didn't have too much interaction with them. You know, when I paroled to the streets, I had a couple homeboys that were Sangres. They were black. They were Bloods. Weren't very deep in my city. We're down. West Side Merced Original Bloods, North Side Piru. They were all with the business. But our interactions, willing and dealings with them wasn't too much. At that time, on the streets in Merced, we were going at it with the Crips, the MGCs, Merced Gangsta Crips, all day, every day, man. It was smack your shit on sight both ways, right? So there was a lot of bloodshed, man, in the streets, on the calles for that, between the two groups. Now, I got locked up. I was in and out of prison. So I kind of avoided that pleito. I kind of avoided that war, you know, that was happening. But I was hearing about it from homies like, damn, bro, the Crips are on our shit or we're on their shit. And I had never really experienced too much of that. I mean, a few little melees, a few little things happen. Never no gunplay. But I knew what was happening. So I was of the understanding on the streets, man, we didn't get along with the Crips, especially the ones from our city. Now, that didn't mean all Crips. That just meant the ones from our town. And I can't even tell you where that beef started, but I know even to this day, man, it's on and cracking, right? So I get locked up. I'm in prison out of state. And there was a lot of white bloods and white Crips, okay? Now, in California, to be a white Crip and a white blood is very rare to function on the yard. They do. And there are some, man, that hit them yards and they're about their business. Now, you got to understand, as a white Crip or a white blood, the woods, the skinheads, they're going to feel some type of way. Okay? They're going to feel like, you know, it's a disrespectful thing because you chose up with another ethnicity, you chose up with another race. So on a 4-yard, it's very hard for a white Crip or a white blood to function. When you see them on YouTube or anywhere in this world telling their stories, man, best believe them guys are real ones. Super real ones. They're not just telling you stories to tell you stories. They really lived that life. They really been through it. And that's a fact, man. Ever having done time on a 4-yard, I could tell you right now, if you're white and you claim anything that has to do with the black gang, man, the woods are going to trip. They really play that racial card to the fullest. And most Crips and Bloods that are white are not going to be able to last too long on them yards. And not because they're not down. It's because these whites are going to do everything they can do to take them off the yard immediately. It happens fast, right? So when you do see a white Crip or a white blood that function on the yard, best believe he was knocking people out their boot heels. Facts. Now, out of state's different. Different states have different rules and regulations. And the state I was locked up in, there was a lot of white Crips and white bloods. In fact, there was whole gangs of white Crips, whole gangs of white bloods. So to me at first, I was kind of like, wow, because I never really seen that too much. You know, I've seen white Norteños, white Southsiders. That was pretty common. You know, that was normal. Black Northerners, black Southerners, common, right? Wasn't nothing to see that. And they got the respect. They were treated just like every other homeboy. Again, the whites that we did have functions with or business with, man, were kind of, you know, they would look at the white guy or the black guy like, nah, I can't fuck with them. But it was what it was. You know, the Norteños in California didn't function with the woods anyways. So, brother, they weren't getting no shot of coffee from me, right? But I got a lot of love for the woods. Facts, right? So, everybody knows Roach was my boy. We done went to prison. I'd have choked his ass out, though. Straight up back in the day. So anyways, like I said, in this state, there was whole gangs of white Crips and white bloods. Well, a lot of the brothers, man, you know, in this particular state that were Crips and Bloods were from California. So they functioned to a certain level, right? They identified with some of these white Crips and white Bloods, but they would pick and choose who they fucked with and who they didn't fuck with because they considered them just guys that were trying to act black, guys that were trying to identify as something that they really weren't. But you can't tell another man what he is or what he claims to be or how he grew up. They're going to do whatever the fuck they want to do, man. And if you feel some type of way about it, get off. Get off. That's what I've always been told, man. If you got an issue or a problem with it, do what you got to do. Don't sit there and talk behind their backs and talk about how they're suckers and they're clowns and they're wannabes, man. But you don't want to be out on that yard getting off, right? So, you know, I gave respect to those that were functioning at a certain level. Now, there were some of these white dudes that did a little too much. You know, they'd come out, you know, just like trying to act black and trying to act extra, right? And I always said, look, bro, be yourself, do what you're going to do. But when you're doing the extras, you're bringing extra, you're shedding the extra light on yourself and you're going to get all the extra that comes with that. And unless you're prepared for that, man, you know, I don't know what to tell you. So these bloods that were in this building, on this yard, right, were with the fucking shenanigans. Okay. They were white bloods. They had their own little thing going on and they functioned hand in hand with Norteños, which was a trip for me because again, like I said, man, in the youth authority, bloods were against us. In prison, I was cool with the gang of bloods, man, a gang of Pyrus. I had no issues with them. And I always reflect back to the youth authority when a couple bloods did back me up. One very well known. You know, I've done stories about it. So I could say it's been all over the place, my interactions with the Sangres, right? But in this particular place, we were cool with them. So it was all good. And I guess because they were white dudes And because we identified with the color red and they did too, I guess that's the way they looked at it. Remember, the politics are different than California. In California, when it comes to North and South Mexicans, it's not about colors. It's far from colors. You'll see Southerners in Southern California wearing red. You'll see guys in Northern California. I remember there was a Guadalupe that used to wear blue. They used to wear teal blue and green. The Gardons wear green and Sakura. You'll see just a lot of colors were never an issue. Yes, people always wore red and blue to let you know exactly what it is. But it wasn't like the colors were like fucking, like Crips and Bloods, color banging. You know, it had nothing to do with that. It was more so just identifying. That's what your people identify, how they identify themselves. So anyways, I guess because we were norteños, these guys, you know, felt it was cool. So this particular white Crip had come onto the yard, right? And this dude was a fucking knockout artist, right? He was someone that the blacks had embraced and they took into the fold. Now, again, this is how the makeup was. There was white Crips that just did their own thing and they didn't function with the blacks. They were just white Crips. And the brothers, man, quietly as it's kept, used to clown and be like, them dudes ain't real Crips. They're wannabes. But again, nothing ever happened, right? Then there was the actual black Crips, man. I remember there was one from Insane in Long Beach. There was a whole bunch of homegrown Crips from that state. And there was just, it was what it was, right? But I remember them and the white Crips didn't really see eye to eye, but there was never no beef. They just was like, them are some fake ass wannabes, right? But quietly as it's kept, the white Crips were getting off. But this dude was from California, this Crip that came in there. This dude was, like I said, a knockout artist. And he had constantly been doing time in the hole because he was putting people on their pockets for whatever reason. You know, he was one of them dudes too that you'd get on the basketball court or you just didn't want to be around him. He had a fucking attitude. He had an attitude problem. He had a chip on his shoulder and someone was bound to knock his block off, right? It was only a matter of time. But there's dudes like that, especially in those prisons that are a little bit softer and the politics are different. They're not, guys that are from California feel like they could fucking ride out to the honeycomb hideout. Like they could push their weight around just because they've been to prisons like Folsom, Salinas Valley, High Desert. So when they go out of state, they find themselves locked up in a different state. It's like, man, this ain't shit. This is soft. This is popcorn to me, bro. I'm going to eat this shit up, right? And they walk with their chests out and they do a little bit too much. Now, me being from California, I knew how to play the game. The game was this. Sit back, relax with my gente, and wait. Just wait. If anyone posed a threat, get off. If not, do your time. Why not? This was not our state. This was not our backyard. There was no reason for us to be pushing our politics around on anyone. If anybody wanted that smoke, well, we got Puff the Magic Dragon for him. But if not, kick back and watch all these white and black dudes and Paisas and everyone tear each other's ass up, right? Again, on the yard, there wasn't Southerners where I was at. They kept us segregated and separated. There were some compas with North and South, but for the most part, they kept the who's who of the who the fuck will get off fast, right? Apart from each other. And it was crazy, man. Sometimes they'd bring Southerners in the building. They'd drop their bags, get off. Northerners would be waiting right there. I remember, man, we used to wait right there at the table to see who was coming through the Sally Port, man. And if we noticed anyone that looked like a Southsider, we'd jump up like, what's up, where you from? And so 9 times out of 10, they'd drop their bags like, so that's it, what's up? Boom. We'd get off, and it was vice versa. So it happened like that. So we had our own thing going on to worry about what was going on with the Crips and the Bloods, right? But back to this Crip. So he's walking the yard, and he has words on the basketball court with this Blood, one of these dudes from the All Blood gang. Now, these dudes, there wasn't very many of them. There was like about 6 of them on the yard, but they were with the shit. They were with the shit, man. They had a couple fucking weirdos, I guess, dudes that were fucking kind of weird under their belt, and they were extorting the dog shit out of them, just beating them up. They were just smashing fools. That's what they were known for. These dudes all moved as a unit too. If one of them got off, they all got off. They went to the hole, came back. It's just how they did it. But one of them is pretty big dude. He's a short, fat dude, but stocky, right? He gets into it with this Crip. Now, this Crip was tall, probably like 6'1", 6'2", and they start arguing, and the Crip swings on him. Right? So we're like, oh shit, back to Rocket Don't Smoke and Rocket Don't Joe. We're talking about Crips and Bloods fighting here, right? In prison. The blacks are kind of looking like, oh, that ain't any of our people, right? Then they see the Crips, so they all kind of mob over there. Because again, like I said, this white Crip did function with the blacks, right? It was crazy. It was chaos there, man. You didn't know who was with who. But we knew enough to know that this guy functioned with them. So I remember telling the homeboy, like, damn, hey, the blacks are going to get off with the whites right now. I wonder what the Woods are going to do. You know, the white supremacists. You had the Irish Prides and you had the the IPS and the EKs. This was in Oregon, right? So you had a lot of different white groups on the yard, right? And I was like, man, you know, are they going to just, you know, let the fucking, what they consider the white black dude just get beat up, or what are they going to do? Because the Bloods were already over there. Now the blacks are over there, and they're talking it out, right? And so we all figured out ain't shit going to happen. They're going to talk it out. Well, as soon as we walked back in the building, they would have these doors, they would slide open, and that Crip and that Blood ran up and they're both white, right? They ran up in a cell and started chunking them. Well, this Crip dude was no joke, man. Like I said, he had major hands, right? So he fucked that dude up. He had that dude screaming in there. You could hear him, all right, stop. That's it. One thing about prison, youth authority, anytime you're locked up, if you're screaming, if you got someone in there fucking you up and you're screaming to stop, first of all, you're going to be looked at as a dry snitch. You're trying to alert the authorities, right? And your homeboys are not going to respect that. You know, hey, die in that motherfucker. That's how they feel. You know, don't never say listo or I mean, don't ever say ya estuvo or you're done. It's always listo. It's always let's go. It's always go time, right? So this guy's in there getting the shit beat out of him. This dude's fucking him up with a hot pot, and everybody's walking past the cell, not trying to alert the tower, but trying to look in, right? This motherfucker was in there using weaponry, right? He was hitting him with the hot pot, choking him out. And so a couple of the Bloods come up, a couple of the black dudes, they break it up, like, bam, let's go. They don't get caught, right? And now it's chow time. We go back for count time. And cops going by, whatever. No one knows what's going on. Everyone's talking about it. You can hear people out the doors like shooting wheelas and doing whatever they're doing. And we figure, okay, maybe, you know, the Crips are going to get at this dude and just be like, hey, that's on you. And we're thinking maybe these Bloods are going to roll their homeboy up off the building for what happened to him, right? You know, for him going out like a coward, basically. But really, he went up in there and handled his business. He just lost, right? He was losing like a motherfucker. And he was letting everyone know vocally that he was losing, right? So this Crip is out there in chow, and he's laughing, clowning with the blacks, being loud, right, talking shit. And you can see these Bloods, they're sitting at their table. They had 2 tables, man. There was about 6 of them. And they're mad, right? They're mad because this dude's high side, right? So a whole bunch of the Crips that were white Crips came over to the white Bloods after chow. We all went to the yard. We could see them all talking. Now I'm tripping out like, damn, are they feeling some type of way too? They weren't even involved in this shit, right? Again, it's not our politics, so we're just waiting, eating popcorn, waiting for something to pop off. And I guess these white Crips were feeling some type of way because this black Crip, or he's a white Crip, but he kicks it with the blacks, had been like, you guys are wannabe suckers. I ain't fucking with you guys, right? So they didn't like him already. So truth be told, man, these whites slid these Bloods a piece, right? And they were like, fucking do your thing, man. You know, do your thing. Fuck this dude. We don't got his back. You know, the blacks are not going to really do, at the end of the day, man, and this is true story, you know, there are the brothers that if you're fucking with them, they're going to function to the fullest and go all out. But in this state, man, to be honest with you, they'll kick it with you if you got canteen, right? They would kick it with you if you had canteen at that time. They weren't going to fucking, hey, if you got into a wreck, that's on you. You ain't black, right? That's how they felt, right? True stories. That's how everybody felt. Like, hey, if you ain't what we are, homes, we can't fuck with you unless you got a sopa. And so this white Crip, right? He's like I said, he just done choked someone out, fucked them up. He's feeling himself, really feeling himself. So he's walking around, he's on the basketball court, calling people out, talking his shit. And man, when we came back in, well, no, this is what happened. We came back in, nothing ends up popping off. We're like, okay, maybe they're just going to chalk that one up. We're expecting them to roll up their homeboy. But again, different politics, man. You know, they gave him a hug instead of a slug, right? And so I'm telling the homeboy, my cellie, I'm like, you think they're going to get off? He's like, man, I'll bet you 2 bags of oatmeal, them ain't nothing going to happen, right? And I was like, nah, bro, them white Crips, they might do something. They're feeling some type of way, bro. Even though it was another Crip against a Blood, they just don't like that dude. They were hoping that dude ran off the yard, right? Next day, breakfast pops off. That white Crip's talking his shit. You know, talking about shit. Motherfuckers don't want to see me, man. I'm beating everyone's ass on this unit. All this shit he's talking, right? No one likes him. Now the Woods are over there just waiting. They're waiting for him to get any type of crazy with one of them so they could stab the shit out of him. And we know it, right? Everybody knows it. But he ain't directing his anger towards the Woods. He's more directing his anger towards other Crips and Bloods. It's just what it was, right? So it was about 2 o'clock in the afternoon, man. And I remember they did yard release. And so they'd pop your doors. Everyone would come down the day room, whoever wanted to come. You didn't have to go to yard if you didn't want to. As Norteños, we mandatory go to the yard. Hey, make your presence be felt. It is what it is, right? So all the homeboys are going out to the yard. We'd all wait. One of the homeboys would come. That was on the bottom tier. I was on the top tier. And he'd wait right there for all of us to gather up. There's only 5 of us on the compa, right? And we'd all walk out together. Just, not that there was Southerners or adversary there. Just, that was part of our little our politics, our program. We all fucking moved as one. So we're looking. And all of a sudden, as we go out the building, an alarm goes off. So, here's something Wes Watson won't tell you in his stories. It seems to never happen. But this is the truth of what happens in prison. Everybody takes a knee or hits the ground depending upon what prison you're in. In this prison, you had to get on your stomach, lay your ass in the grass, the gravel, the dirt, wherever you're at, to figure out what goes on. But look, the real way motherfuckers do is they kind of take a knee first, and you look around and make sure it ain't none of your people involved in anything, because if it is, you already know you got to run over there fast and handle business, right? So bam, we make sure all the homeboys are right there. We go down, right? And they got, now where we're down, we can't see what's going on in the building. So we know some shit's cracking off. We just didn't know what, right? We're out there for like 3 hours. And there's probably like, I don't know, about 30 people out there. Not everyone got to make it to the day room to this yard, right? So there was only like a few people out there. So we're out there for a long time. Like, what the fuck happened, right? We're getting thirsty. We're telling the cops, hey, man, we're thirsty. The cops like, sit up on your ass. You guys can sit up because we've been in the hot sun for a minute now, right? And so we're sitting up like, what the fuck happened? And the cops are out there and they're not telling us. And finally this one cop comes, it's shift change. And he comes, he's hella cool. We've been out there all day, it seems like, right? And they bring us our sack lunches on the yard from our cells, all that. We're eating on the yard, chilling. We kind of get into like a shady area. We scoot over there. And the cop's like, yeah, man, they killed some dude in the building right now. We're like, no fucking way. Didn't happen, right? That type of shit don't happen over here, right? They don't just kill motherfuckers. I seen 2 people my whole time in that system get smacked, right? One of them, he got his whole guts dug out over some dope. Another one, some dude hit him on the yard, man. It was 2 white dudes, and the dude called the other dude a bitch, and he socked him, and that fool was like, he knocked him out, and that dude fluttered his eyes back, and he fell on his head and smacked his head, and he ended up dying, man, from head trauma, right? So we're like, nah, just that type of shit doesn't happen. Well, this is what happened. During yard movement, man, like 2 of those bloods ran up in that white dude's cell, man, and they started getting off on him and his cellie, which was a black dude, right? The black dude fought his way out, ran down the tier like, fuck that, I don't want that smoke. And that white dude was like, fuck it, and he was giving them the business while another dude ran in with the piece and got to put in some work, man, and they held this dude down and they did the Troy Kelt thing to him, right? And I remember when we got back in the building, man, they had the shit all taped off. They just walked us straight to our cells. They were like, put your heads down, don't look. And there was a crime scene, hella cops there, right? Everyone else was already back in their cells. And we're looking, man, and I had to walk upstairs, and this dude was up on the top tier too, the one that got booked. And I was looking, I was like, damn, they got him, right? And they did. They ended up getting him, man. That was probably the first killing that happened at that prison in a very long time, or that just had ever happened. But anyways, different politics for different prisons. That goes to show you, man, doesn't matter about color, doesn't matter about race, doesn't matter about nothing, man. You disrespect, it's all about disrespect. I think that dude catching that one-on-one fade with that blood, it was just what it was. He made him scream or whatever, but it was how he was acting after, trying to show off and clown. Them dudes didn't go out like that. Them dudes weren't no suckers, man. And they put some holes in them. Anyways, true story, shit happened, man. I remember after that, man, they had us on modified program for a minute. And then that was it. Those white dudes that did that, they ended up shipping the rest. There was like 2 more left that didn't get involved. They were just lookout. They shipped them out. And that was it. I remember talking to a black dude, damn, man, what happened to the white homie? He was like, they don't kill that motherfucker. And that was it. Again, he didn't have no more softball, so he didn't have no more friends. The white Crips and all the Woods, they was over there like, shit happens, brother. You got coffee? They didn't care, right? And the white Crips, they were happy. Let's just say that without saying too much. With that being said, I hope that you move smooth with a purpose, get everything. And again, man, everybody that got charged in that crime, they got charged. They're already doing life or whatever case they got. So it ain't like I'm exposing some new game. It's just part of prison, man. I see so many other incidents after that, especially in California. Shit happens. It pops off. In that state, not necessarily as much, but it did. With that being said, I hope that you move smooth with a purpose. Get everything that you want coming. And remember, at the end of the day, it's all about the strive, the struggle, the struggle, the strive. I'm going to continue to do what I do right here on Collective Clips. Are you guys ready for a Super Norteño this afternoon? Are y'all motherfuckers going to watch it? Because let me get at you. We're going to get at you today. The gun. Bang, bang.